Hi, it's Taylor T. Carlson, and I'm back with another video for you. Today we're going back into the world of retro gaming with another brand new retro mini console that's hit the market. This is the Grafx 16 Mini. Now, growing up, I had a lot of video game systems, probably too many to count here, but I know I had an NES and an SNES, so those retro consoles were like sort of a reunion for me. And then even the Genesis Mini, when I got that, I had a lot of friends that had Genesis systems when I was a child. Also had a PlayStation growing up. Never bothered buying the PlayStation Mini after seeing a lot of the negative reviews for it. The Grafx, on the other hand, is a whole different animal. When I was a kid, I did not have a Grafx 16, and none of my friends did. The only person I knew that actually had one was a cousin of mine who lived out of state, so the only time I ever really got to play one was when I went out of state and got to play his. So this isn't necessarily retro gaming in the same nostalgic sense as the other systems that have been put out by other gaming companies. This one is almost like going back and rediscovering a lot of lost games that you may have missed the first time around, even though there are a few familiar franchises to be had here. Well, the system was never really a big success in America. It was a lot bigger in Japan and actually lasted a lot longer there. Let's go ahead and unbox this and take a look at what you get inside the package. Okay, first of all, we've got the box that this came in. There's the top. There's the bottom with all the obligatory copyright info. Both of the sides just have this Grafx 16 Mini logo. And then the back's got basically an assortment of all the games that are available on here. Got all the Grafx games that were released in America on the top, and then the Japanese PC Engine games are on the bottom. A lot of these, of course, look pretty unfamiliar to me because I didn't own a Grafx growing up, and there are a few franchises that are represented here that are pretty popular, though, including Bonk, Bomberman, R-Type, Gradius. Odds are you've heard of at least one thing that's on here. And here's the actual unit itself. This is from the top. You can see they've replicated the way the original unit looked pretty well. They've even got the little Channel 3, Channel 4 thing there, which as a 90s kid, I definitely appreciate the homage. Here's the bottom. Here's the back. Here's a close-up of the front. You can see the power switch, the replica of the little card slot that you'd have on the original system. That's not functional, it's strictly aesthetic here. Then you got your USB ports, of course, for the controllers. This part on the back is just mostly for decoration. It snaps off. I just got this, so I'm still freaking. See, that comes off. And then under here, you can see the HDMI port right there, and the power port is right up in there. It's kind of hard to see on the camera here. And then just got an HDMI cable. I'm glad they put one of these right in the boxes. That seems to be pretty standard practices these days. Here's the actual power cord. It's mini USB to USB. This seems to be what's pretty standard for most of the mini consoles these days. And then, of course, we've got the controller. Got a nice big cord on this, considering some of these have had retro consoles of the last few years have had freakishly short cords. This is definitely a welcome change. Here's a close-up of the front of the controller. It looks just like the original ones. You got your 8-button directional pad, the select and run buttons, button 1 and 2, and they even got the little turbo switches right there, which I definitely appreciate. And then, yeah, instruction manual, of course. I'm not going to go through every single page of this for obvious reasons, but here's a few of the pictures from inside of that. As I'm sure you noticed, there's no power brick to hook the USB in. Sadly, they didn't include that, which is becoming something of a problem with some of the retro consoles these days. But fortunately, you probably have some of those lying around the house that you've used to charge your phones and things like that anyway. One other issue that I do have in regard to what's included here, or rather not included here, is you only get a single controller. Given that this is priced for $100 and the Super NES Mini was only $80 at the time of launch, and it came with 2 controllers. I really wish they would have sprung to include another one here, even if I had to pay a little more to get it. I've looked around on Amazon, which is where the system is currently exclusive to, and official controllers all seem to be out of stock, although there are companies like 8BitDo that do make wireless variants. I've actually ordered one of those myself, and I might show that off when I get it and give my review on that as well. Upon firing up the system, you'll be greeted with a pretty user-friendly interface. If you've used any of the other retro systems like the NES or SNES Mini or the Genesis Mini, this is going to feel pretty similar, and I do mean that in the best of ways. Apparently, the company that did a lot of work on the Genesis Mini worked on this, and since that was definitely a high watermark for a lot of these retro systems, that's definitely a good thing. You'll scroll through here. The default menu shows all of the American TurboGrafx 16 games that have been included here. And you can go down and click in the bottom right corner of the screen where it says PC Engine, and that will switch over to the menu of the Japanese games. There is some overlap between the American and Japanese games, so you get 2 versions of some games, but then some are American exclusive and then some are Japanese exclusive. Like in the case of Japanese exclusives, you've got like the Castlevania Dracula X Rondo of Blood. I've actually got my Rondo of Blood shirt on right here. And then there's even a 16-bit port of the NES Ninja Gaiden that I never knew existed. You'll have the option of 4 save states for each game, and the menu is easily brought up by pushing the run and select buttons at the same time. One of the issues I had with the NES and SNES classics is you pretty much had to get up and go over and push the reset button in order to go back to the menu. The Genesis Mini did a little better because you could hold down the start button for like 3 seconds, although holding the button down could be a pain in certain circumstances. So having a button combo like this, I think, is definitely the way to do it, and I'm really glad to see them take the initiative here. Inside the options menu, you will find a lot of different display choices, and again, these are pretty commonplace amongst the retro consoles these days. They even have an option where you can activate the TurboGrafx Mini portable screen and play it that way. I don't know why you'd ever want to, but I definitely appreciate that that was thrown in just as sort of a gag. When you select a game, there'll even be animation of the game card being put into the system on the screen. And when you switch over between the TurboGrafx and Japanese PC Engine modes, there'll even be the picture effect of an old-style TV being shut down. Again, these things weren't necessary at all, but as an old-school gamer, I definitely appreciate the aesthetic choices here and the throwback value. I'm not going to go too in-depth on the individual games here, but if you count the American and Japanese games, there's over 50 games included here. There's a lot of shooters, so believe me when I say that those turbo switches on the controller will definitely come in handy. But then you got things like platformers, RPGs, and just about everything in between. The one probably biggest complaint I have with this system is the Japanese games have not been translated into English. They're pretty much all still in Japanese. Some of the games like shooters or action games, that's not really a problem. But when you look at something like Snatcher, which I really look forward to playing here, and it's all in Japanese, it's literally impossible to play the game without either A, going online and finding a text walkthrough, or B, knowing the Japanese language, which I certainly do not. Another issue with this system, and not really a problem with the product itself, is going to be availability. In America, this is only available through Amazon.com. Pretty much any place that's selling them secondhand has them for really highly inflated amounts of money. Even Amazon, at the time I'm doing this review, is currently sold out, so you'll have to buy from a third-party seller, and they're definitely not selling these cheap either. As I stated earlier, the system only includes the one controller, and the controllers are all sold out on Amazon as well, but again, there are some third-party variants, including wireless variants, and I will definitely show off my 8BitDo wireless controller when that gets here. Overall, despite a few minor complaints, namely the Japanese text only in the Japanese games and the lack of a wall charger and second controller, I'm actually very impressed with the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. A lot of these games have largely been inaccessible to gamers for years. I did have a few of these as virtual console downloads on my Wii back in the day, but it's nice to have them on an actual TurboGrafx sanctioned system like this, and the controller being authentic and everything, and then all of the little retro touches they've included in the menus and so forth. It looks great, it plays great. As a gamer, I'm very happy with this, and it's nice that I don't have to go hunt down an original one for an outlandish sum of money. Are you a fan of the TurboGrafx 16? Have you had a chance to pick up a TurboGrafx 16 Mini yet? What do you think of this latest in a long line of retro consoles? Would you recommend it? Would you not recommend it? This gamer's definitely a fan, but I want to hear what you have to say. Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel for more game reviews, and like this video if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you next time.